Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about how I believe the zodiac sign Sagittarius can be manipulated. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing up is I want to get at is that these videos I'm making about how the zodiac signs may be manipulated. It's not about teaching people how to manipulate the zodiac signs. What this is actually about are the zodiac signs in question in the videos. They have an idea, just so they could kind of get an idea and conception maybe of how people may be attempting or trying to manipulate them, so they could look for certain things as it might be some indicators as far as that goes. So anyway, well, first off, as a child, Sagittarius may be manipulated, and may perhaps by a parent, by telling him or her, you can't do such and such, or you're going to have to relinquish your freedom to go outside, or I'm going to prevent you as a parent from you going outside, prohibiting you from that, with the exception of school, of course. Now, of course, this could apply to people that are connected with other zodiac signs as well, but I think this could affect Sagittarius a little bit stronger, because they are like those meanders, adventurers of the zodiac. They love Sagittarius people are often enamored with the outdoors, and this will maybe get, unfortunately, for Sagittarius, this could get them to do what the parent wants, but good for the parent perhaps. But anyway, also could be about the parent depriving Sagittarius, say, of sports-related items. Sagittarius is often infatuated with sports. It could be taking a football away, or the threat of taking a football or baseball away, basketball, or even saying that if Sagittarius, if they are in a sports league, like say they're in some recreational league or what have you, or they're in like Little League or some junior NBA league, or they're in an NBA high school team, the parent can say, well, you know what, if you don't do such and such, I'm going to prohibit you and forbid you from playing your sport on your team. And things like that will impact Sagittarius a lot stronger than the average person, because Sagittarius is often very sports-minded, and they're really strongly about their fun and their enjoyment, and sports could very well be part of that. Now, could be taking workout equipment away, could be another example if Sagittarius is someone as a teenager, say, that works out vigorously. Now, also, too, remember that it could even be taking, see, Sagittarius is often, I see them as that consummate jokester. They're often, Sagittarius is often very jocular and jovial, but they're also, which could really make them practical jokesters, whether it's fake handcuffs or whoopee cushions or what have you. And just, and the parent can threaten to take those away from him or her if Sagittarius doesn't do such and such. And keep in mind, Sagittarius could be victim to these things as well, because Sagittarius has to remember that what goes around comes around. They may play their jokes, all in good fun, being flippant with friends or what have you, but they have to remember that they may have to be on the receiving end of these same practical jokes, or just general practical jokes, and maybe not exactly the same ones that they use on their friends. Now, also, too, Sagittarius can be enamored with foreign travel, of course, and significant others, say, if they're in a situation with a significant other, that person could say to Sagittarius something like, well, if we don't get the bills managed here, we won't be able to take that trip to another country. And that could really manipulate Sagittarius into complying with what the significant other wants, such as working more hours, getting another job, or what have you. Also, too, Sagittarius, of course, can be the incorrigible optimist. They are somebody that if you're trying to take the wind out of Sagittarius as a sails, figuratively speaking, if you put Sagittarius, if they're put in a room of melancholy and despondent people, Sagittarius could often be rebuffed by this, and that might drive Sagittarius out of that situation. Sometimes this may be done by people that are trying to get Sagittarius to leave that group involvement, that situation, what have you. Now, Another thing too, let's say Sagittarius is in a situation where they're employed by somebody, right? Now, the thing about it is, it's not that Sagittarius can't be in a subservient or subordinate role. That's not it at all. But the thing about them is they do like to have their certain freedom. They are people that, are often, as I stated before, they're like the meanders of the zodiac. They like to be able to move around, not have to be in one particular spot for too long. They don't like to be physically pinned down. Gemini, it's more on a mental level, but with Sagittarius, it's more physical. Sagittarius, say, is in a situation in their place of employment where that authority figure is overly domineering, authoritative, or dictatorial. In some cases, this could be, that authority figure may be trying to get Sagittarius to quit. Now, Sagittarius, in a subordinate role, again, they may require a certain amount of freedom. If somebody there, if an authority figure is trying to inhibit Sagittarius' freedom, Sagittarius may take off. This might have been a ploy to get Sagittarius to leave. Say they say, well, you can't go outside for your smoke breaks. You got to do that inside. Sagittarius often likes to be outdoors periodically, even if they're in a position when they're in an indoor environment where they're predominantly inside. Sagittarius is really loves the outdoors, I think, more so than any of the other zodiac signs on average. Now, another example too is that given the fact that Sagittarius does like to travel around a lot, and say for example, Sagittarius could be in a situation, right, where they're not really at home as much as the significant other wants. Significant other could issue some kind of ultimatum to Sagittarius. Say, well, you know what? You're going around state to state. You're doing this. You're not really home that much. If you don't do something where you can be at home more and you can limit that job that's whether it's a truck driver or a job that's requiring you to do all this abundance of traveling, then I might not be able to do this for you. It might threaten, it could be a threat of a divorce or whatever it may be, an ultimatum to Sagittarius. That could either get Sagittarius to comply. Sometimes it could just completely backfire, and Sagittarius might extricate themselves from that situation completely, from the relation. Now, in some cases, this could be a way where the person might be trying to get Sagittarius to end the connection with him or her, but sometimes it could just be to get Sagittarius to comply with his or her wants, and sometimes, like I said, it could backfire and Sagittarius might leave the connection completely. So, because Sagittarius does not like to really be pinned down, and they certainly, more so than I would say maybe any of the other zodiac signs on average, they don't like to be issued those kind of ultimatums in situations where they have to comply with somebody else's demands if they can help it. Now, another thing too is that looking at this, it's also important to look at the house Scorpio falls on in a solar natal chart for Sagittarius. As this could be this could be the area or sector in life where one may be most susceptible to being manipulated. Now, because Scorpio, of course, is the zodiac sign associated with that. Now, Scorpio, now in a solar natal chart, Scorpio will often fall on the 12th house cusp for Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius can be a little bit naive to some degree, I believe. Now, the 12th house cusp does govern hidden adversaries. People posing as friends may have an easy time manipulating Sagittarius to some degree, because Sagittarius might have that outlook, well, who is actually going to be my enemy? Sagittarius might not always believe that they even have any adversaries, whether they're open or hidden, because again, they could be the incorrigible optimist. They may feel, well, I'm this friendly person. I got a good disposition. Who could actually have any animosity toward me? I'm not going to, they might not even be worried about, some of them might feel that they have people that are enemies that are pretending, posing as friends or whatever, and they're actually their enemies, or they'd have actually have some hidden disdain for them, but they just don't really think or worry about that much. So they can be, it really gives that opportunity to those people to really get Sagittarius this way, because they are so unsuspecting of these things often. Now hold on a minute, people. Because Sagittarius often has that what me worry philosophy. So they're like, well, if this person is asking me to do such and such, well, there can't be any hidden agenda or hidden motive connected with that. Now, and it also could be when you're talking about Scorpio often being on the 12th house cusp in a solar natal chart for Sagittarius, this could be also, the way this could manifest is that Sagittarius may manipulate themselves to some degree in matters connected with restrictions and limitations. Say, for example, say Sagittarius could be simply trying to bench press a weight that may be too heavy for them and could exacerbate an injury. They feel so confident that they could overcome any possible limitations or restrictions, or may feel that they hardly have any. So as a result, they might take on a little more that they can handle and wind up paying some repercussions for it. It could even be, another example could be saying, trying to run for a certain amount of time without stopping and succumbing to some kind of overexertion. Sagittarius, again, incorrigible optimists. They're very expansive and upbeat, and they often think they could do just about anything. And I mean, they are very positive and optimistic, but sometimes it can go a little bit too far. Now, another thing, and really that could be the self-undoing for Sagittarius. Now, another thing is that it's important to look at the house cusp that Pisces falls on in a solar or natal chart for Sagittarius, as this could be the area where one may be very vulnerable and susceptible to deception and duplicity. Now, Pisces often falls on the 4th house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Sagittarius. Now, Pisces, again, Sagittarius, again, they could be that happy meander of the zodiac and may wander endlessly, sometimes not finding that stable home life. Pisces, I see, is kind of floating energy. This is where Sagittarius can be floating, figuratively speaking. They really, Sagittarius has a hard time stabilizing themselves often with a certain home life. Now, I think what happens is people may sometimes be cognizant of this and may take advantage in really somewhat naive demeanor at times, and especially these people that Sagittarius can be close to home with may take advantage of them. Now, you could have situations where you're talking about the 4th house. This could be anything with homes. These could be realtors. Realtors may wind up, Sagittarius may succumb to deception, duplicity from these people, because Sagittarius often is not looking at, whether it's not looking at the fine print and things in these matters, because they're really often not worried about staying at a place for any sustained, protracted period. They might not be actually looking to see, well, does this place maybe have some mice in it? Are there cockroaches? Is there a cockroach infestation? Are there cracks in this home? How is the foundation? They might not research extensively as far as prospective homes may go, because they often aren't going to stay there that long anyway. So, and a lot of it is because they're not really that worried about them, but at the same time, because Sagittarius may not be very detail oriented in this sector of their life, they could often be duped. So anyway, well, another thing is that the thing about And again, Sagittarius can be that restless meander, that wanderer that has a hard time being physically pinned down. So that's, and also another example could be boisterous neighbors, as far as looking for things connected with their home that they may be in. They may wind up going into the home and having certain problems that they didn't anticipate because they didn't research it thoroughly and properly. Now, another thing. Going back to just in general how Sagittarius may be manipulated. Well, the thing about Sagittarius, I mean, I've stated before that confining Sagittarius to their room when they're a kid could probably exasperate them more so than the average person. But another thing is, Sagittarius, I think, can fall for a story where somebody is claiming they're down and out, saying they're in some kind of less fortunate situation, such as facing oppression or being impoverished situation, homeless, hungry, or whatever. Sagittarius is so upbeat, so positive. They hate to see people that are down and out. So I think sometimes somebody can distort or enlarge a story and try to sucker Sagittarius into that, figuring that Sagittarius can often be very benevolent. They're very benign. It is, I mean, they are the sign connected with luck and good fortune. And I think sometimes other people can take advantage of that, that Sagittarius might try to help them to try to bolster that person's spirit that may claim that they're going through those situations when the reality is they may not. And unfortunately, might be trying to do things to help the person and bolster their spirits. But unfortunately, what gets expanded could be it could expand the con man's pocket, so to speak. So Sagittarius has to be careful as far as this goes. Now, another thing too, I think, a way Sagittarius could be manipulated is, you got to remember, Sagittarius is a sign. It's a mutable sign. They could be somewhat changeable. They're not exactly notorious for persistence and tenacity, and that could be in their connections as well. The thing about it is Sagittarius could often be very flighty in terms of, in terms of their relationships. Well, they might be like, well, gee, I'll see you guys for a little bit, and then they might think, well, maybe I'll call them back in another week or two and everything's okay. It might be okay in Sagittarius' mind. They might not think they're doing anything that malicious or hurtful, and they're probably not in their own, they're not intending to. But another person, say you take somebody like a Pisces or a Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, might take effrontery to it and might become more exasperated, more upset by that. Sagittarius may get a taste of their own medicine, figuratively speaking, and the person in Sagittarius might get that cold shoulder for on and off from those same people that they're doing this to. And I mean, Sagittarius, I mean, can be really associated often with having very sporadic and erratic connections. Remember that the zodiac sign Aquarius often falls on the third house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Sagittarius. Their communications can often be rather unpredictable, rather sporadic and erratic. They often will just talk to people when they feel like doing it, and they don't often factor in the feelings and how this might affect the other person. So in other words, if you're a Sagittarius and you might know some people that are just, well, they're just kind of intermittently, they're coming in and out of your life. You need to see if maybe you're doing that to them. They might be doing this just to get at you for that, and getting you to inquire with them, hey, what's going on? Having you take that bait, so to speak, and getting you to reach out to them. Being oblivious to Sagittarius, it could be a way to get Sagittarius to actually come to them. If somebody stays away from Sagittarius for a protracted period, Sagittarius may be the one to actually inquire at some point, hey, what's going on? What did I do to deserve this? So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment with how I believe the zodiac sign Sagittarius can be manipulated. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be talking about how I think the zodiac sign Capricorn may be manipulated. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.